check this out. I've got a application here, which is a sort of a GPS mapping application where I can upload my GPS tracks onto it and map them on a big map here in that case. And I've got GPX files on the hard drive here. Watch what happens. Let me close the app and double click on one of those files again. The same app opens up and adds the new entry here. Like it processes the file and opens it and lets me review the new track in the app there. That's great. It works just like you would expect, right? Files on the desktop, double click, associated app opens up. Except in that case, this app is not a compiled Windows app. It's not a native application. It's a PWA, progressive web app. So let's learn together about how to make that happen with what technology. So I'm going to close these things now. Go to my source code with VS Code here. There we go. Make that smaller. All right, there are two things that we need to do. First thing we want to do is, with like any other PWA, we need a manifest file. This app that I've done is already a PWA, so I've already got this manifest file. Manifest is here to define what's the name of the app, what icons should the operating system use to show in the taskbar, the theme color for the title bar, and stuff like that. There's a new field you can use in the manifest.json file called file handlers. That's the one I've used here. It's really simple. You can define many types of files that your app should handle. In my case, I only have one because that's the only one I need. And it comes with a mix of MIME types and file extensions. The MIME type is used as an object key here, and then file extensions that you expect to be handling are sent as an array of strings here as the value of the object here. And then for each and every one of those, you want to tell the operating system what to do when that file is launched. So when the operating system knows that the user wants to launch or open a file, it will take a look at all of the applications that are associated with that type of file. It will find yours because it's a PWA that's been installed and it's been like, the file handling has been registered at the operating system level, and it will open your application with the right action. In that case, I've just passed /, which means please go to the root of my web app. So the root of my web app is going to be open in the application window. Second thing we need to do is we actually need to do something with the file, right? It's not enough to just say, please open my application. The application needs to know that a file is selected and it needs to do something. In my case, open the XML code from the GPX file, read it, and do something with it. So to do this, you need to write some JavaScript code in the client in the front-end code of your app. I've created a new file called just file.js, and really the only thing you need to do is use the launch queue object, which is a new type of API specifically made for this. Make sure to test that the launch queue object exists before using it, otherwise you'll find yourself with an ugly JavaScript error in the console. The API is rather simple. You use the launch queue object and you set a consumer on it. The consumer is really just a callback. So in my case, here is a arrow function that I've used. It receives just one argument called the launch params, and then using the launch params, you can check if there are files that have been opened when the application was launched, which is why this is called launch queue. This is a queue of things that have been associated with the application launching. And so in that particular case, I'm using the launch params.files, and I'm only accessing the first object, which is why I'm using the bracket 0 index here. You could do a for loop to iterate over all of the files that have been opened. In my case, I only wanted to keep it simple and handle only one file. I pass it on to this next function here, handle file from file handling API. And what I do is, it's a file handle object, which I know supports the getFile method, which is asynchronous, which is why I'm using the await keyword here in the async function. So I get the file, and from the file, I get the text using the text method as well, which is also asynchronous. And once I've got that, contents here is actually a string. It contains the entire content of the file, which I can use to do anything I want. In that case, I pass it to another function called addFile, which uses a DOM parser to parse the string into an XML tree that I can then iterate on and find interesting things about, like the track name and whatever I need. So yeah, that's about it. The only thing that's remaining now is to be able to use the feature, you actually need to enable it first. This is an experimental feature in Microsoft Edge and Google Chrome, and you cannot use it right away. You need to enable it first. So let's see how to do this. You want to go to the Edge flags internal page, and then using the search field at the top, you can search for file handling. There we go. You should find a file handling API entry here. Switch it to enabled, restart the browser when prompted, and then you should be good to go. You can try again in your own source code and it should work. So let's try again to see it in action again. Let me go back to my track files. I'll double click on this one. And yep, the application launches and my app has, you know, used the new content here to display a new track, and I can do whatever stuff I want with my application now. That's great. Let me give you another example. Photopea is a website which also happens to be a PWA. It's great. I use it all the time. I've installed it locally as a PWA. As you can see here, it's just like Photoshop and it's really great. It also supports file handling. So if I open the Explorer again, I go to this folder, which I know I have a couple of PSD files in here. As you can see, there's a PSD file extension. PSD files are normally associated with Photoshop, but I don't have Photoshop locally. I have Photopea, and Windows here realized that I have Photopea installed, which has registered to be a handler on PSD files. So let's see what happens when I double click on one. Great, Photopea opens, and I have access to my file with all of the layers, and I can even do, you know, make changes and save them back to disk. Let's take a look at the code. Gonna inspect to open DevTools on this page. I'll open the application panels, which has a manifest section. Click on manifest.json, and we can see that, yeah, sure enough, it does have a file handler section, which I was telling you about before. Photopea is a little bit more complicated. It has like 20 different handlers. It basically supports PSD, JPEG, PNG, like all sorts of like image formats, and it goes to the /root of the application when one of those files gets opened. So let's bring up the search panel and search for launch queue, because that's the API we know needs to be used to open a file. So Photopea must use it. And there we go. Let's prettify this a little bit so we can see better. So the code is a little bit difficult to read because the code in production is uglified, so it's like single letters for variable names. But we can kind of see that it's the same code as the one I was using, where checks for the existence of the launch queue object here, and then sets a consumer, which is a function, gets the files from that parameter and iterate over them and get each file and then do something with it. So yeah, that's how file handling works with PWA. I think it's great for building really engaging desktop application, and I hope you like this tutorial and are gonna give this API a try. So thanks for watching.